All right, it says we're live. I don't know. It's technology. Maybe it's working, maybe it's not. I hope there's some people tuning in. I don't see any eyeballs up there yet, but they should start popping up. Oh, there's 3. Okay. Funny story. So we had this dream of doing this fight video, Boise versus Coeur d'Alene. I said Boise because I know people say Boise, and that sounds stupid to me, so I don't say it that way. This is North Idaho, and I'll do what I.
That's the one thing I could change. I would.
So I came into this podcast and I was like gearing up to be, those fighting words. And then, we were talking before the podcast, and it turns out we both do jujitsu. I was like, damn, I think we might be friends, bro. And we look the same too. If I took my hat off, you'd see that I was bald also. And so here we are. But we're going to get after it, and we're going to talk about the differences and maybe some similarities between Boise and Coeur d'Alene, because those are the 2 big ones that come up, right? People are looking at Idaho. They're like, should I move to Boise? Should I move to Coeur d'Alene? I don't know. Well, if you guys don't know me, my name's Seth Horst. I run the channel called Residing in North Idaho. We're on YouTube. We have a podcast as well with the same name. And I will let you introduce yourself, Craig.
Yeah, I'm Craig Flood. I run the YouTube channel Living in Idaho. I really focus a lot on Boise, Idaho, but a lot of southern. I also make content for other major cities, because I know a lot of you guys, when you're relocating, you don't know exactly where you're going to land, which again is why we're doing this video comparing Coeur d'Alene and Boise.
Full disclosure, I didn't know there was anything down there other than Boise.
There's some good options.
Boise, is there?
I was doing some more research today. I was like, man, the population of Idaho is like 2 million, and Boise's coming up on like 800,000-900,000. So we're a big chunk of it. And then
bananas.
Crazy. Montana is 1 million, like right around 1 million population. So Boise's
really
coming up on, Boise, the Treasure Valley is coming up on Montana.
Okay, I didn't know that.
So anyway, but yeah, there's some other smaller towns. There's not that many places to move to in Idaho.
Right.
Like Boise, Coeur d'Alene, some other smaller towns, and then it just gets really small after that.
I'm pretty sure there's nothing in the middle. Hey, look, someone said greetings from Palm Desert, California.
It sounds lovely right now.
Sounds deserty. Is that hot? I don't know. What's up, Johnny? Thanks, brother. Okay, so here's the game today. We're gonna run through. How many topics do we have? Do we have 10?
Yeah,
something like that. Okay, we're gonna run through these topics, and we're gonna do a comparison, and we're gonna decide as a group which one is better ultimately. I don't know how we're gonna do that, but we'll get to the end and we'll figure it out. Maybe we'll just fight. Maybe we'll be best friends. I don't know. But we're gonna break down some of these topics because these are a lot of the questions that Craig and I both get when people call us and they're looking to move to one of these areas. First up, geography and landscape. Okay. You want to go first? I'll be the gentleman here, and I'll let you go first on this one.
I'll try not to talk about Coeur d'Alene.
What's Boise like, bro?
I came from the Seattle area, so I'm used to evergreens, and I came from Oregon before that. And so I'm used to that beautiful evergreens, kind of hills, socked in. Boise's not that. It's high desert. There are trees often in the distance, but down here it's very open. So I spend a lot of time at the foothills, mountain biking, going for walks with the family. And it's just really interesting because you can see around the corners, you can see off to a distance. Again, you're just not socked into the woods. But it's a bit hotter here in the summer times. Oftentimes I'll mention that to some people. We're hotter than some other parts of the state. But our winters are milder. So I tell a lot of people when they're thinking about moving here, Boise's a good choice if you don't want a lot of extremes. It's a great option to get into the 4 seasons without going fully extreme, maybe in northern or Montana. So those are some things that I'd briefly touch on. We also have the Boise River, which is a nice place to cool down.
It is. Hey, Chris and just got on and said they can't hear you very well. Are you able to turn up your audio on your end? I will jump in while you're messing around with that. Okay. So Coeur d'Alene, you may or may not know, is very densely forested. We have areas of open meadows. Coeur d'Alene is really known for its lakes. We have got Lake Coeur d'Alene here, obviously, and that's a big one. It's beautiful, crystal clear water. So, I guess it comes down to what landscape you prefer. You've got the more open landscape of the Boise area with the big, beautiful river, or, on the flip side, you've got these rugged mountains, big pine trees, and wonderful crystal clear water of the lakes up here. So it's kind of like, man, that's kind of a personal preference. I can't say one is necessarily better than the other. I prefer it up here. Obviously, that's why I landed here. And I'm sure Craig could say the same for down there. One interesting thing to note, and this is kind of weird, we're in different time zones. So I am up here in North Idaho. I am in the Pacific Standard Time. And you guys are Mountain Time, right?
Yes, we're Mountain Time. And just to make sure, can you hear me well? And
I can
if
hear you
anybody
now.
wants to gem in, I can.
You sound louder.
Somebody leave a comment if you don't hear me okay. Otherwise, I can switch up a mic setting. But let's assume you can hear me. Yeah, we're Mountain Standard Time, which is also really weird. It's weird that they cut the state in half. There's no vertical or anything like that.
Okay, you're good on volume. Chris N said you're good on volume.
Oh, perfect. So, thanks, Chris.
Yeah, good update.
But cool. Yeah, Mountain Standard Time. It throws you for a loop. It stays late. It stays light really late here. And when you want to call your friends in Northern Idaho, you forget they're an hour ahead, which isn't a problem in the evening. But in the morning, when you realize you hit them up at 6 and not 7, or 7 and not 8, then you feel bad.
I get up at 4:30 every morning, so you can call me whenever. I'll be up.
Perfect.
That's the game. All right. So we already talked about the population of Idaho. We're sitting just under.
We didn't talk about the population. We did offline.
Oh, we did.
Yeah, that was offline. Oh, did we? I don't know. Gosh, my memory's bad.
All right, population's just shy of 2 million in the entire state.
The entire state.
How's Boise City?
Boise's coming in at, the city of actual Boise, 235.
Okay.
But when I think about, I know we're talking about Boise and Coeur d'Alene, but Boise's really the Treasure Valley. You got all these surrounding cities. Most people who move here don't even move to Boise. They pick one of the neighboring cities. Gotcha. But that's like 800, 900,000 depending on where you look.
That's
the Treasure Valley. So you're talking about almost half the state.
Almost half of the state. Holy crap.
Yeah.
Wow. Man,
the Treasure Valley.
Y'all better be voting the right way, because you guys are kind of starting to run stuff down there. We'll get to that. Okay. Population of Coeur d'Alene, Idaho itself is sitting around 55,000. And that's pretty maxed out. Like, we have geographically spread about as far as we can go. And there's only up from here. And they are starting to do that. Yeah. We're starting to see some condos pop up, some more condos pop up downtown. There's mixed feelings about that, right? But so if you look at Kootenai County, and Kootenai County encompasses Coeur d'Alene, Post Falls, Rathdrum, Hayden, all of the bigger cities up here. We're sitting about 186,000 in that geographical area. So, man, population-wise, we are like way smaller than you guys.
Yeah, the comp is like Spokane and Boise are like almost right on par, both sitting around a quarter mil. So I just
are you guys filled with thousands of zombies as well as Spokane, or no?
No, I have thoughts about Spokane. I thought about moving there.
Spokompton, as they call it.
Yeah.
It's a cool city. I shouldn't trash it too hard, but I don't go there because it's full of zombies. So there you go. Fentanyl's a bad thing, man. I'm just going to put it out there like that. I know, it sucks. All right. Since we're talking about homeless people, let's talk about crime. They tend to go hand in hand. What's crime like there in the old capital city?
It's like, how do you answer that? The stats are super low. I was researching this again. Like, when you compare crime to Spokane, again, if you just jump the border, it's insane. It's like a 4, 5, 6x. But here, I came from Portland and Seattle prior to this, and it's just like non-existent. At least that's what it feels like. You're never going to find anything perfect, but it's just, you leave car doors unlocked. I don't think twice about going downtown. I don't think twice about going under overpasses. I don't think twice about leaving something unlocked. It's just, it takes a while to get used to it, but it's a very clean city, and it's just not on your radar like some of these other cities.
That's pretty impressive based on the size of the city, right? So I'll give you that, Boise. Good job. I visited there. We looked at moving there before moving here, and I was impressed with the cleanliness of the city and the general lack of homelessness. To compare Coeur d'Alene, when you look at the stats, we did pull them up, and I was looking at them. They're both, I guess they're fairly similar. Some of the stats in Coeur d'Alene were a little bit higher, which surprised me, like rape. Sorry about the dinging. Can you guys hear that? That's weird.
Yeah, I pick it up a little bit, but that's fine.
All right. But overall, violent crime, property crime in both areas is much lower than the national average, just because Idaho is awesome. and that's a good thing. And really, it's a function of like the police departments in Idaho being able to do the job that they signed up for, right? They're allowed to enforce the law here, unlike some states where, a lot of you guys might be moving from, where they're not allowed to do that anymore. So that alone, I think keeps crime really much lower in Idaho in general, which is pretty cool. All right. Climate and weather.
Yeah.
What you got?
This is a good one. Let's see. Climate and weather. Again, we're semi-arid down here, but just to hit some high numbers, I'll just rattle them off so we can compare. Average snowfall in Coeur d'Alene, I got it 69 inches. Average snowfall in Boise, 20 inches. There's two places in Idaho that just do not have super severe winters. One of them is going to be Boise, the Treasure Valley. The other one would be Lewiston. They're almost like banana belt-ish, just not as bad. A lot of southern Idaho is, but Boise, you just kind of get a break from it. Average sunny days in Boise, I got 200. I got 142 in Coeur d'Alene is what I pulled. Average high, we get higher highs than you, 89 in the summer. You guys are pulling 78, which sounds nice. But last year we hit between 90 and 100 for like 3 weeks. It was a hot
That's
start.
hot. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I saw those stats. I actually adjusted them a little bit. You probably didn't see it yet, but
Perfect. Was I off on some of your numbers?
Yeah, I think so. But it obviously depends where you're pulling from, right?
I know you always got to pull them from multiple places.
Yeah. Because
I off on sunny days.
Sunny days. I've always been saying 174, and if I keep saying it, that means it's true. So
felt like 140 felt low.
Yeah, I would say that it probably is. And then snowfall, I think we're a little lower than that. Like the average I've been using is 42. And in my experience, I've been here 3 winters now. It has not been that bad. I'm sure it's more than you guys get, right? But it's not that bad.
Like I don't shovel snow.
Oh, okay, yeah, no, never mind. We get more.
So it's definitely different. Like you guys get more, and it
snow.
might linger long. Like we get snow and it melts away, and I don't. And we're south facing. But isn't there's a town north of y'all that gets a ton of snow?
Some of the towns in the mountains,
like freaky amounts.
It really depends, and it kind of is.
Hayden?
Hayden's not like a crazy difference because we're so close to Hayden.
Not Hayden. I'm not thinking.
It could be like maybe Bonner's Ferry or somewhere like really far north. But some of that's elevation dependent, right? We have probably a lot more elevation gain here than you guys do, and you start hitting above 3,000 feet, and you're going to get a lot more snow, right? But
we
overall,
get a lot of snow down here, and we see it in the foothills. But we get the break. You see the snow line. Yeah.
And then wet, like temperature wise, I'd say we're a little warmer in the summer than that. I'd say we're averaging in the mid to high 80s. And then we had a handful of days last summer that were over 100. So it does happen. It's, obviously not going to be as much as you guys get, but it does happen up here.
Yeah. So maybe we're pretty competent.
Yeah, I think so. Economic focus. Okay. You're going to get us on this 100%.
Yeah.
Coeur d'Alene area, like almost our entire economy is driven by tourism, right? Downtown Coeur d'Alene, Sherman Ave, the resort, Schweitzer Mountain up in Sandpoint. All of this is all tourist activity. We've got 4 different ski resorts within an hour and a half of Coeur d'Alene. So you've got some wintertime activities, summertime activity, but really it's tourism for the most part. We also have some logging, some mining that is still going on up here. That's why they call us the Gem State, right? And then healthcare is decently sized up here. And then there is some manufacturing going on, like Buck Knives. If you're familiar with that company, they are located here in Post Falls, Idaho. So we got that. I bet you got us beat though.
Yeah, so we're a much larger metropolitan area. Again, not just Boise, but the whole Treasure Valley. But universities in town, if you want to work at them. We have Micron, which is a large employer. A lot of random businesses downtown. Like a lot of people call me and they're getting transfers for jobs, and I'm thinking, I had no idea that business was in town, and it's like a block away from my PT or whatever it is. Agriculture, especially southern Idaho too. You just have a lot of agricultural. But that's one nice thing about Boise. When people are thinking about relocating, if they're not taking a job with them, I say Boise is a great area to attempt to move to because you just have a lot of opportunity. Right. So a big chunk of the population lives here.
You guys grow all the taters down there, right?
That's what they say.
That's what they say.
Actually,
I
I've
don't
met
see a
some
whole
really
lot.
interesting potato farmers and saw that. Yeah, I went out to Central, what was it, near Twin Falls, and I got to hang out with a potato farmer for a day, and it was super interesting. I saw the whole process, and this guy
That's
eats
a
and
world I
breathes
know nothing
potatoes.
about, man. I do
Neither
like
did
my
I, but I
potatoes.
really appreciate those guys. Oh man.
That's good stuff.
I just
All
got
right.
what did I get? Talking about potatoes, I just got a flat iron, no, a grill, Blackstone
Blackstone.
grill. Anyways, oh, I've been doing a lot of
Yeah,
potatoes on that now.
I've been wanting one of those. That's a good
Oh my
call,
gosh.
man.
My wife wasn't a believer, now she's a believer. We're doing like breakfast crepes, burgers,
That's what
chicken,
I
just
hear.
everything.
Do
We
it
just
all,
eat
right?
outside. Yep.
I gotta get on
All
that
right.
train, man. Cultural influences. Okay, so Coeur d'Alene, strong history tied to the Coeur d'Alene tribe, right? That's an Indian name of the tribe. That's at least that's what we call the white man called them. I'm sure they had a different name for themselves. The area, so it attracts a lot of outdoorsy people, right? That's pretty common up here. So there's a big cultural influence of hunting, outdoor activities. You can see that everywhere. Hunting is huge up here. Now, there's also an element of, and I say this a lot, like this is, and if I say it, it must be true, right? Because you're hearing it on the internet. This is the highest concentration of retired and current first responders and veterans than anywhere else in the United States. There it is. That's my claim. Prove me wrong. And I think that helps drive the culture here too, right? Because it's a big gun culture. So a lot of people like to shoot up here, hunting, guns. What else? Outdoor stuff. That's like pretty much North Idaho in a nutshell.
Yeah.
What you guys got down
the,
there?
I mean, a lot of the same reasons that you just said we have too, just in kind of a different form. But in terms of cultural, gosh, Boise had a big influence from Boise. I need to work on saying that correct. We have a big Basque immigrant, so a big Basque community here that has some influence on some parts of downtown and restaurants and food. But the town, I mean, in terms of cultural influence, it's like the people who move here, and we'll talk about this in recreation too, but same things you were saying. A lot of people want to move here for the outdoors and I would say, have close access to the outdoors. Yeah, we'll dive more into that and some other stuff, but
okay, good stuff. And then okay, here's a touchy subject. I love touchy subjects. The political landscape. Let's talk about politics. That never starts fights. Okay. Obviously, I think this is obvious. This should be obvious to most people. North Idaho is extremely conservative. There it is. And I often talk about this in my videos. Like, if you're not a conservative person, you might not like it here. Honestly,
yeah.
Like you'll see Trump flags waving around. I'm not a huge Trump
Off the
lover.
back
I'm
of big
going to put
trucks.
that. Oh yeah, I'm not a huge Trump lover. But honestly, life was a lot better when he was president. So I'm going to say that. And if that seeing Trump flags makes your heart go a pitter patter in a bad way, like you might not like it up here. But it's a good community, like good old values. It's like when I grew up, 30 plus years ago. It feels like that. You go to the public beach and there's a lifeguard and, a little ice cream shack. And it's like, it's cool. Lots of people go to church up here. And, I guess it's just like growing up 20 or 30 years ago, old school values. And that's one thing that I love about it.
And I would say Boise's similar.
Is it?
Well, it can be a bit bluer. Some of the same things you just described, yes. I mean, a lot of people will call Boise like the blue dot, right, in a red state. And even people who move here, they want that conservativeness. I talk to a lot of people coming up from California, and I'm like, well, why are you considering leaving California? And it's like, there's 3 reasons. One of them's political. And so a lot of times when people will move further out of Boise, they'll pick Eagle or Meridian. It's just going to be a bit redder, more conservative. And so, yeah. But in terms of the way that it feels here, it's like, it's a smaller town. So I think some people can cover that, but yeah, it's just a great place to grow up. And we wanted our kids to grow up here, and we're really happy about that decision.
Yeah.
But politically, we came from Portland, so when we left Portland, I mean, somebody tried kicking our door down. I was sleeping with a pistol under my pillow on the couch, guarding the door, and they were burning the city to the ground. There were helicopters overhead, telling you to go inside.
That's
And so
stressful.
coming here was just like a breath of fresh air, like
Yeah.
overnight.
So we're pretty comparable on that
Yeah.
footing. I like that. All right. Here's another touchy subject: schools.
Yep.
How are the schools down in Boise?
They're good. You have a lot of options. When we moved here, we were homeschooling. So I have 4 kids, and my wife was homeschooling 3 of them. Our youngest had just been born. A lot of people will move to Idaho for the freedom that they get with homeschooling. Again, a lot of similarities there. But we have a lot of public schools, a lot of private schools, charter schools. So if you want some specific kind of education, I've often found, at least for us and the experience that I've heard, it's not that hard getting into a charter school. So if you want to be able to drive a little ways and there's a school with a certain program that you have, you can do that. We currently send our kids to a private school that we're really enjoying. There's some more really interesting charter schools. One in particular, a classical education charter school that's going in near Avamore, so just north of Eagle. And then we have a handful of universities in town too. That was one reason that we picked Boise. So my wife's originally from Moscow, so we thought about moving to Moscow, Idaho. And it's Moscow, not Moscow for anybody. Just like Boise is a boy sees, it's not Boise. Even if you hear me say Boise, try not to do that. But one reason we moved here was because if our kids, when they got older, if they didn't want to move away, they didn't necessarily have to. They could do in-state school here. They could get a job here. They had opportunities here in the Treasure Valley. So that's a nice thing that Boise has to offer.
Yeah. You've got us beat on the higher education for sure. So we've got a good public school system up here. Some of the areas are a little better than others, right? Also, and I heard this number the other day. I can't verify it, but I've heard there are 7,000 homeschool kids here in North Idaho. And remember, it's not a huge population. That's an impressive amount of homeschool kids. And I think one of the cool things here is there's a lot of homeschool co-ops. So these parents get together and, they do some socializing with the kids. They have like community learning. So, parents can take turns teaching and stuff like that. There are also private schools and religious school options up here in charter schools. So it's a pretty good mix as well, which I appreciate. Now we've got North Idaho College in town, which is the, community college. That's the word I'm looking for. But also right across the border in Washington, not that I endorse going over to Washington. It's dangerous over there, people. But there is Washington State University and Gonzaga University are right over there in Spokane. So they are like 30 miles away. So that is an option up here if you want to brave the zombie hordes.
Yeah.
Gosh, someone from Washington is going to hate me for all that. I apologize. I just can't help
Washington. It's true.
It's true.
But Idaho is a magnet for homeschool communities.
Oh, yeah. Families. Yeah. And contrary to popular belief, when we were growing up, like the homeschool kids were kind of weird. They are not weird anymore. My kid, we homeschooled for a while too, so I can say that. Yeah. You meet these kids and you're like, wow, they're looking me in the eye, which is hard to find these days with the younger generation, and, shaking my hand and talking to me like an adult, and are super intelligent and very functional. I'm like, oh, wow, like they're doing it right. So it's pretty cool. That stigma is gone.
Yeah.
All right. What do we got? We got, tourism and recreation.
Yeah.
Hold on. Let me remove that comment. Did you see that comment? Somebody's banking on their XRP. Jolly Roger banking on his XRP to make $1 million so they can use Craig to buy a house down there. Good luck. I hope it works.
What's the best beer? No hate, it's true. What's he saying? Yeah.
Best beer. Ooh. In town, in Coeur d'Alene, I'm going to give it to Daft Badger. DAFT. Daft Badger. They got good food too. That's a great place to hit up if you come to Coeur d'Alene.
Yeah, and I wouldn't be able to pick, but we got a handful of breweries.
I bet you got a bunch
down here, just traveling around. Some good wineries too.
Okay.
Tourism and recreation.
I guess we touched on this.
We did a little bit. When I think of Coeur d'Alene, I think people go there who want to retire, live on a lake, or they're traveling there. Yeah, like Boise does not fall into that radar at all. Like people down in Boise, nobody in Coeur d'Alene's like, where are you going for the weekend? Boise? Probably not saying that. But people in Boise are like, where are you going for the weekend? Oh, it's our anniversary. We're going to go to Coeur d'Alene. Yeah. Boise doesn't hit that radar.
Yeah. From visiting there, I really appreciated the river and the riverfront. Like they did a good job down there
Oh, it's
of,
amazing.
yeah, really good job. Like that
See,
was
Coeur
cool.
d'Alene, when I travel to Coeur d'Alene, it's like you have that public beach, but then
Mhm.
I have driven well, we spent some time up there. I'm like, it is hard to get access to that lake unless you live unless you live on it or have a boat. You're kind of stuck to that one area that I
Yeah,
found.
yeah.
And
It's
so even
there
though
are
it's
a
a great lake, it's
few.
interesting to try to interact with it.
Right. There are a few spots that if you're local.
True.
Um, right. But you're right. Like as far as the public, if you don't know the area, the city beach and that is you're fairly limited to that area. So
Yeah.
that is an issue. Yeah, a lot of the lake is developed and it's privately owned on the shoreline for sure. You got us there.
Which is
I'll
great
give
if
you
you're a
that.
homeowner.
It is. Absolutely. That's the
Which
life, right?
you don't have that down here. So if people reach out and say, "Hey, we want to have that lake life," it's like you're not going to get that in
You get
southern
those little
Idaho.
man-made lakes in Eagle. Those are pretty cool.
Yeah, no boats though. Just like they're little
Right.
ponds that maybe don't stay the cleanest, but it's not like
Mm,
a true lake. Which I grew up in Puyallup and we had a lake and it was amazing. But
yeah.
that's something that I like about that area. But people down here they go up to McCall or Lake Cascade. You
Mm,
kind of get a vacation home. In
right.
terms of recreation, I'll just touch on this. That was a big reason I moved here. Hiking, biking. You have the river. We have the Boise wave, so you can go surf it. You can go kayak it. You can go stand up paddleboard on some of the ponds that we have around. Fly fishing, if I didn't mention that. Mountain biking. Just lots of great things like that. And again, all really, really close. So depending on where you live, you could ride your bike to any of that stuff.
Yeah, that's cool.
So that's something I love about here. It's not an hour drive. It's like a 20-minute drive or a 10-minute drive,
That's
depending
pretty
on where you
cool.
live.
I guess we're probably pretty comparable on that head to head on activities.
Yeah.
We've got more ski resorts close by, right? We've got 4 within an hour and a half, and
Yeah.
we have more lakes. We have there's a lot of lakes up here, not just Lake Coeur d'Alene. You've got Ponderay, Hayden Lake, like these are big,
Yeah.
very boatable. So you got all of that activity. Winter sports are huge up here: snowmobiling,
Yep.
cross country skiing. I had another one in my mind. Obviously, hunting is huge. So off-road vehicles. In 10 minutes from Coeur d'Alene, you can be in the Coeur d'Alene National Forest, and you can literally drive to Montana off highway the entire way. So it is an enormous amount of public land, very accessible, and that's pretty cool.
Yeah. There's a guy I follow on YouTube who does a lot of backcountry fly fishing, and a lot of his locations are north of you guys, kind of
Yeah.
tucked up against that Montana edge.
Yep, good spot. Okay, transportation infrastructure. I'll say it right up. Our public transportation up here absolutely sucks.
Yeah.
It's very limited. So
Same
that's
with us.
not great. Roads are decent, but seem to be constantly being worked on from winter travel. Beats them up really bad. And they're doing a lot of expansion to the infrastructure up here. So it's constant construction. Something to keep in mind.
Yeah. We have a lot of growth down here. We're trying to make things better. They're currently trying to make a new connection from like Star Eagle to 84. So just meaning, depending on where you live, it could get better. We have I-84 that cuts through just like you guys have I-90. So we're on a main thoroughfare. But other than that, I-84 cuts through and that's really your main cutoff. And then 184 jumps straight into the city. But public transportation, it's not like a Seattle or a Portland or.
Do you guys have an airport close by? Like
Oh my
a big one?
gosh, that's another huge pro of us. I mean, you guys have the Spokane Airport, which
Right.
I'd be curious to talk about. Well, so we have the Boise Airport, and that was another reason that we chose Boise is that I wanted to be able to get out on an air flight and not have to fly a long distance. Like we also considered moving to Central Oregon,
Yeah.
but your way out's Redmond, and the airport's not great, and
Yeah.
a lot of times you'd be driving to Portland and then driving those passes. There's just so many accidents in the wintertime. But in Boise, like if you're somebody, like a lot of people, I was just talking to somebody else who they're talking about moving up here, living here, and then going back for 2 weeks and just doing that rotation to keep their job in Cali. But the Boise airport has direct flights to Seattle, Portland, Sonoma County, San Francisco, Sacramento, Oakland, San Jose, Burbank, Los Angeles, Long Beach, Orange County, San Diego, Palm Springs, Las Vegas, Phoenix. So you have a lot of direct flights. So depending on where you're moving from, if you need to make that commute. I mean, I know a guy that lives here and he commutes to Alaska. He's a miner.
Wow. Wow.
But for them, it's just worth it. They're like, we need to get out.
Yep.
Like
Yep.
for the sake of the family, I'll go travel and work. I don't want people to do that permanently, but if you need to.
I know a few that do that. I know a couple of LA City firefighters that commute back and forth. We
Yeah.
have Spokane International, which is actually a great airport, and it's only about
Yeah.
40 minutes from Coeur d'Alene. Easy drive, and lots of direct flights there too. Obviously, Seattle, you've got tons of direct flights to California. So it's a good option. There is an airport in Coeur d'Alene, but it's only for really rich people. So you
Yeah.
won't fly out of there. But it's there. Justin Bieber pops in there now and then, I'm sure, and the Kardashians and whoever else lives over in Gosser Ranch. So that's there. But like I said, it's either rich people or firefighting aircraft that fly in that one.
I'll say one story about the airport too, that you could think about airport and you can think, oh, that's going to be a nightmare. Like flying out of Seattle's a nightmare. Flying out of Denver, Colorado, in my opinion, is a nightmare. Flying out of Boise is not a nightmare at all. My record is I got out of bed to sitting on my seat on the airplane. So waking up, grabbing my bag, catching an Uber, getting through security, walking through and sitting down was 20 minutes.
Dude.
And so that just kind of gives
impressive.
you a little bit of a vibe of how easy that airport is. The airport, I think, is like 9 minutes from downtown Boise.
Okay.
It's really, really close.
You got to speed on the airport. That's legit.
Maybe that'll backfire as we continue to grow, but it's really close at the moment.
Yeah. Are you guys, I mean, we're like fairly geographically limited on growth because of mountain ranges and lakes. Are you guys like that too?
Not as bad,
right?
But not as bad as you guys. We're limited a little bit on the north end by some mountains. But then we have just a lot of empty land as you kind of head south. They just have to build the infrastructure for it. But yeah,
farmland.
Right now you have all these cities, and all the cities are starting to meld together.
Yeah.
So in another 10 years, a lot more cities will kind of be touching, and the infrastructure will have grown in.
Right. Okay.
But we still have a lot of room to grow.
So speaking of that, let's talk about quality of life and cost of living. Coeur d'Alene. So probably a slower pace of life, right? We're just not a huge city up here.
Yeah.
And a lot of people move here for that, right? That is attractive to some people. Some people, it's too slow. And, they want that bigger nightlife. We have a little bit of a nightlife, right? Downtown Coeur d'Alene is like, it's touristy, it's popping. But it's not like big city, cool, like Boise vibe by any means. So, can we touch on some home price stuff? And I took numbers from the Coeur d'Alene MLS. So this covers, the panhandle, but not all of it, a big chunk of it, like all the big cities up here that you would recognize. Median sale price, and this is for April of this year, is $510,000. I use the median because the averages are skewed a bit because we have a lot of these lake houses that are like, $10 million. And it just throws the numbers off. So median's a little bit better, drops that high one. So median sale price, $510,000. Median list price is $649,000. And then the average or the median days on the market is 61 days. So 61 days a home will sit on the market before it sells in general.
That's interesting.
How do you guys stack up on that?
So I did it by Ada County and Canyon County. So you have Boise, which is an Ada, and then you have Canyon. It's kind of the Treasure Valley cut in half a little bit. So Ada County, where Boise is, median sale price $556,000, and average days on market 37. And then as you move left to Canyon County, or west, I should say, Nampa, Caldwell, areas like that, median sale price is 430, 50 days on market for average days on market. So the closer you get to kind of Eagle and Boise, things get a bit more expensive. As you kind of move away from that west, things get more affordable.
Interesting.
Still, the whole Treasure Valley is like 45-minute drive from one end to the other, depending on traffic.
So the takeaway for anybody out there is that Idaho is not cheap.
Oh my gosh, no.
You know what? I get calls sometimes, and people will be like, "All right, here's what I want. I want 20 acres. I want a 3,000 square foot house with water." And I'm like, "Oh, cool. Okay, what's your budget?" I'm like, $250,000. I'm like, "Yeah. Well, sorry, sir. That does not exist."
Not to be a jerk, but didn't you go look at Zillow
right?
before you called me?
Come on. Yeah, not a reality.
I'm like, we'll try. You can look at. Yeah.
Sure, we'll look. Yeah.
I saw a photo. It's like I saw a photo. When I retire, I want a little house on the lake, and it's like a fat guy sitting in a pond with a house.
I saw that one too. That's so good. You can get that.
Yeah, you can. Sure. We can make that work.
Healthcare. What do you guys got?
Yeah.
You probably got some good healthcare down there.
Yeah, we got some good options. We got St. Luke's is going to be one of your biggest. We got St. Luke's Children downtown. St. Luke's, I was trying to look it up, but it got rated like number 1 or 2. It's a great hospital. You got St. Alphonsa, a lot of little options. But a lot of people when they call, they hear stories about like, oh, if I move to Idaho, I'm just not going to be able to get a provider.
Yeah.
It's going to take a year. And I would just tell anybody, do your own research. If there's a specific provider or service that you're needing, just call, talk to them, say, hey, what's the wait time? Can I get the service? I have not found a horrible experience finding a provider. In fact, we're in the process of getting a new one, but there are options out there.
Yeah, yeah. I imagine, so we've got that close, right? We've got Kootenai Health, which is right here in Coeur d'Alene, great hospital. I want to say they're like a level 2 trauma center. I can't remember what that means, but there's a nurse out there listening and she knows what it means. And then we've got Northwest Specialty Hospital in Post Falls. Post Falls and Coeur d'Alene are like touching each other. You can't tell when you cross over one to the other. Tons of immediate care. And, all of the normal providers, right? A lot of people will call up here and they think it's super podunk up here. And they're like, oh man, can I even get healthcare? And I'm like, no, you're good. Like, it's here. Trust me. And then if you have that like super specialty thing, Spokane, once again, is very close by. And they have a huge, amazing hospital. They have a really good children's hospital over there too. So like, it's close. You just got to potentially pop over the border into Washington to find that specialty care that you might need.
Yeah, like my wife's folks are from Moscow again, and if anything bad happened, it was like you get life flight to Spokane, you drive to Spokane. Like Spokane's your major hub for you guys up there.
I think Kootenai Health is pretty caught up now and modernized. So they were good. My son broke his arm last year, and we took him in there, and it was like totally good to go. Like the emergency room was great. I have no complaints about it. So I think they're catching up a bit, but yeah, it's nice to have the option close by if you need it. Okay, dude, we got through everything.
That was it.
I don't know the answer here. You know what? Here's what it's going to be. Is like it's going to be personal preference, right? Like, yeah. But if you are out there and you have specific questions, either of us are available and very accessible for those questions. So I would encourage you, if you're thinking about both, talk to us both. If you're eyeing towards the Boise area because you like desert and cities and that, then call Craig because like he can school you up on that. I can't. And if you like beautiful mountains and lakes and freedom, then call me because you want to go to North Idaho.
All right, you pushed it. USA News said Boise is the #2 city to move to. And Portland did not make the list.
What? How's that even possible?
I know Florida was #1, but we got it. But yeah, they're both great. But if you want lake life, head north. If you want, there are so many factors.
Culture.
Some people want to live. Yeah, they're so freaking different. I mean, it stretches all the way from Canada, all the way to the bottom of Oregon. So it's just. The landscape's very different. The homes are very different. The culture's very different. The weather's very different. Different enough.
But it's still Idaho, and it's a freaking great place to live. So
it is.
If you're thinking about making that move, the best thing you can do is reach out to either one of us and pick our brains because that's what we do. We both help lots of people relocate here, so we would love to help you with that too. Any final words, Greg?
Oh, no, I don't think so. Questions? I see questions over there. Taxes. I think let's see. Paul in Seattle said taxes. Proper. I mean, we got a sales tax of 6%. Income tax just changed to a flat 5.8%. If you own a home, you get a $125,000 off home exemption.
Same in both places. Yeah, we're same up here.
Do you need an all-wheel drive vehicle in Post Falls?
You don't need it. But it's advisable. You could get away with front wheel drive. You can get away with rear wheel drive also. It's doable. The winters aren't that bad. Get snow tires with whatever you get and it'll change your life. There you go.
Charlie, I didn't mean to say Micron. Everybody, Micron's a big employer here in Boise, Idaho.
Never even heard of that. What about this one? How hard would it be to move to Post Falls in December? I moved to Coeur d'Alene in December. You know what? It could go either way. You might get lucky and go in between a snowstorm, or you might get hit with a snowstorm. You'll figure it out. What's the price of freedom? Well, it's moving in December. Get it done.
We have a client come in scouting in September, moving in spring. They don't want to move in the winter. They don't want to move all the stuff from county.
It could be bad,
but they might come here and be like, I do want to get out. We do have a lot of people who move sooner than they think they're going to move.
For sure.
Once they get a taste of it.
Yeah, you come to Idaho and you smell that freedom in the air, and it's like
don't want to go back.
You don't want to go back.
There's one gal who moved from Seattle. They scouted, and she told her husband, I'm not leaving until you buy a house. That's what she needed.
Hey, I got a boogie. I got to go handle some real estate work because that's the actual job here, right?
Perfect.
This has been fun. I hope you guys got at least some good information out of this. It's nice to have these discussions so you can kind of see both areas and figure out what's up. But seriously, like if you have the questions, reach out to us both. You can see our channels. Craig's channel is Living in Idaho, easy to find on YouTube. Mine is Residing in North Idaho. And our contact information is very prominent on both of those. So if you have questions, reach out to us and we'll get it figured out. All right. Thank you. Thanks, Craig. That was fun, brother. Good chatting with you. And we will catch you guys another time.
See ya.